What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Doctor Who ranking video. Today I'm going to be ranking every episode 5 from series 1 to 12. Remember that these are my personal opinions. I would love to hear your own opinions and lists down in the comments below. That would be really awesome to see. But yeah, these are my opinions, so just respect that and I will respect yours. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Number 12. The Girl Who Died from Series 9. Now this is, I suppose, if you want to call it the first part of a two-parter. The Girl Who Died and the Woman Who Lived are technically a two-parter, but I don't really count them as that because they are both pretty separate stories, just with one character in a shielder being the same. But this is the first, I suppose, the first part, if you want to call it that, and it's pretty damn abysmal. I do not like the story. I don't like a shielder as a character. I think Maisie Williams did a decent performance, but just with what she was given, was not given a good script. Even Capaldi, I don't think was given a good script in this one. I don't really like him. I don't like Clara in this one either. She's just annoying. All the villagers are just stupid. I know that's what they're supposed to be, but they really are. And the villain in Odin and the robot things had so much more potential, but they were absolutely mocked and it was just really crap. The only thing that even slightly saves this one is the Doctor's moment where he remembers why he remembers the whole Pompeii thing, why he got this face. That's the only part that redeems this episode. The rest of it is utter crap. Number 11. The Saranga Conundrum from Series 11. Yeah, episode 5s don't have a particularly good run here. There is a couple of very terrible ones. It was kind of difficult to, judge these two, Saranga Conundrum and Girl Who Died, but I did put Saranga Conundrum slightly above. I don't really know why, I just did. I think the set design's pretty cool, but apart from that, there's nothing really I like about this episode either. I don't like the Doctor in this one. I don't like the companions, they don't really have anything to do. Graham has a couple of funny lines here, but even him I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. The guest cast are terrible. I hate there isn't a person in the guest cast that I actually like, I don't think, really. Maybe that kind of Scottish woman, she's alright, but other than that, nope, don't like any of them. The Pating is a terrible villain because they put it up as the most feared thing in the universe, but then look at the Pating, it is not, and it barely even does anything. There's some bad acting in there. Altogether, this one is an abomination. Number 10. The Rebel Flesh from Series 6. Alright, so we've got past the two terrible episodes for the episode 5s. Now we're just kind of into the meh ones. The Rebel Flesh is pretty much just that. It's just kind of meh. I don't hate the story. I do think that in a lot of ways this first part is better than the second part, but it still doesn't do a whole lot. The Ganger thing is interesting, but that's about it. It's not mind-blowing. The characters are decent enough, but not massively. Like, most of the characters aren't that fleshed out. Jenny's pretty fleshed out, and I can't even remember her name, the main woman. She's fairly fleshed out. The other ones, not really. You kind of get a bit of more, the guy who's the dad, you get a bit more of his sort of story in the second part, but ultimately, yeah, it just doesn't really do a whole lot. It's quite a nice cliffhanger with the Doctor Ganger, the Ganger Doctor, whatever you want to call him. But other than that, yeah, this one's just kind of meh. Number 9. Evolution of the Daleks from Series 3. Alright, so now we're getting into episodes that I actually like. Evolution of the Daleks, I think it's quite underrated. I said this with Daleks in Manhattan because this is the second part to that. I said it with Daleks in Manhattan in the episode 4 video. But yeah, I think this is a pretty underrated two-parter. Yes, it's probably the weakest Dalek story of the Russell T Davies era, but I think it's still pretty good. In my opinion, it's still better than most of Moffat's Dalek stories, to be honest. So yeah, I just think this is cool. I mean, the Daleks turning on Dalek Sec, I think is really interesting, and I mean, it's what the Daleks would do. I mean, fair enough, the Daleks in the first place, it's weird for them to have this whole thing of making a half Dalek, half human thing. It doesn't feel very Dalek, I suppose, and that knocks it down a bit. But then, you have the other Daleks like, wait a minute, they kind of realise that, and ultimately end up killing Dalek Sec, albeit kind of accidentally. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept, and yeah, it's not bad. Number 8. World War III from Series 1. Here's another underrated two-part story. This is the final part of the Slovene two-parter from Series 1. And yeah, I think World War III is I don't know if it's really any better than the first part, Aliens in London, but it's no worse in my opinion. The stuff with the Slovene is cool. We get to see them a lot more in this one. Some great stuff with the Doctor and Rose, like when they're in the kind of that room where it's all barriered up and they don't know what to do, and the Doctor's like, I can either save the universe and lose you. It's just, he has such a conundrum on his hands. No pun intended with the Saranga Conundrum. Yeah, it's just, I think it's a really good story. I like the Slovene. I like the Slovene two-parter. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. And yeah, generally Harriet Jones is great here as well. And altogether, I think this is a good end to a good two-parter. Number 7. The Angels Take Manhattan from Series 7. So this is the final Angel story so far that we've had. And it's actually the departure story for Amy and Rory, which is very sad. It's a very emotional story at the end. There's a couple of kind of cop-outs with them dying, but I quite like the original thing where they jump off the building. I just like that as a scene. It's a really dramatic scene. And then they finally, it turns out that everything they thought was true. They get out of the whole loop thing, the paradox, and they're alive again. But then, Rory gets taken away by an angel just before they're about to step into the TARDIS. And then Amy gets taken as well because she decides to go with Rory. It's such an emotional story. It's honestly one of the most emotional companion departures, I would say. It's really there with Rose and Donna. And yeah, it's just a really good story in my opinion. I think the main issue I have with it is the Statue of Liberty being a weeping angel. I don't like that at all. And also not being able to go back to that time because it's time locked. I think it's a little bit of a cop-out, but other than that, it's a good story. Number 6. Flesh and Stone from Series 5. Now this one's maybe a little bit lower than some people would have expected. I had the Time of Angels, I'm pretty sure at like number 2 or 3 last time. I'm pretty sure it was at number 2 in the last episode, because I do really like Time of Angels. Flesh and Stone I still do like. I think it's generally a pretty good story, but there are a couple of things about it that do let it down for me. The first thing being, we see an angel actually move, like in real time, physically move, and I don't like that at all. It completely gets rid of any scare factor for the Weeping Angels, in my opinion. It just, the whole fact is you don't see them move. At a blink of an eye, they move. You don't actually physically see them move. But when you see this angel slowly turning around and moving its arm and moving its head, it looks terrible. It just doesn't work. There is a little bit of things here and there with kind of the gravity thing that put me off a bit as well. But generally, apart from that moving angel thing, this is a very good episode. Number 5. Time Heist from Series 8. Here's a story that I think needs a lot more love. Time Heist is actually one of the best stories from Series 8 and from Capaldi's era, in my opinion. It's got a small but good cast. You've got the Doctor, you've got Clara, and then you've got Sai, and I can't remember what the morphing woman is called, but you've got 4 characters. And the side characters are also interesting. They work with the Doctor well. The chemistry's good. I like the Teller. I think it's a really cool designed villain. Looks really good in the kind of prison red uniform. It looks awesome. And just what it can do by basically melting people's brains and making them, well, brain dead is really cool. And this whole bank setup thing, it's a bank heist in Doctor Who. It's so awesome. The thing that does let this one down, I think, is the end. How the Doctor because all this Teller's trying to do, it wants to find its other friend, its soulmate basically, because the people at the bank have locked it up. When it finally finds that, and it's like a lovey-dovey, really crappy end, I'm not a big fan of that, but other than that, solid story. Number 4. The Poison Sky from Series 4. So it's the second part of the Sontaran two-parter, and yeah, I think this part's just as good as the first part. I wouldn't really say it's any better, I wouldn't really say it's any worse. It's a good second part in my opinion. It's awesome to have Martha there again, although in this story she is mostly always the clone until towards the end. But the Doctor figures out that she's a clone, and I love that scene where she's like, where the Doctor's like, where is Martha? What have you done with her? And when they finally do find Martha, it's actually a really emotional scene between the two, which I quite like. Donna's great in this one as well. Awesome to see Wilf and Sylvia there as well. Her mum and grandfather. Thomas Radigan I think, redeems himself in this story. At the end, he actually has some character development, and, you know, the way he goes out by killing the Sontarans, I thought is awesome. And yeah, generally, I like this two-parter, I like the second part. Number 3. Rise of the Sidemen from Series 2. This is the first part of the two-part Series 2 Cyberman story. It is the reintroduction of the Sidemen into the new series, and it's pretty good. I think I do prefer the Age of Steel, the second part, a little bit more, mainly because of Mickey's stuff. But Rise of the Sidemen is still a good story. We're kind of seeing an evolution. It's kind of a genesis of the Sidemen, but for a different, you know, kind of section of Sidemen. It's not the Mondasian Sidemen. It's not the Telos Sidemen. These are the parallel world Cybermen, and this is kind of the genesis of them. I mean, kind of Rise of the Sidemen. That's what it's kind of, you know, saying, emphasizing. I think John Lumick's a pretty interesting character, a little bit weirdly played and over the top, but I think he's still interesting. It's awesome to see Pete Tyler, parallel world. Pete Tyler is awesome. And yeah, when the Sidemen attack at the end, that moment where the Doctor's like, "We surrender," really, really good moment and a really good start to this two-parter. Number 2. Fugitive of the Jadoon from Series 12. Yep, we've got a Series 12 episode at the number 2 spot, which is awesome in my opinion. Although it's not the best series in the world, it has some pretty good episodes, and this is one of them. Fugitive of the Jadoon is actually a really good episode. Now, looking back on it after seeing the finale for Series 12, does the whole Roof Doctor thing put me off a little bit? Maybe a little bit, but I still quite like the Roof Doctor, even though she is pretty much confirmed as a pre-Hartnell Doctor. I just think this is really interesting. Having the Jadoon back again is really awesome. It's awesome to see the Jadoon back. The Roof Doctor's interesting. The whole reveal I thought was crazy. I thought the reveal was really, really crazy and really good. Jodie Whittaker's on form on this episode, which is awesome to see. The companions are awesome because you've got Captain Jack. How could I almost forget? You've got Captain Jack in this episode. Although it's a brief kind of cameo, it's awesome to see him back, and I reckon he will be back soon. So yeah, Fugitive of the Jadoon, it's a really good episode. Number 1. Oxygen from Series 10. Yeah, we've got a Capaldi 12th Doctor story at the number 1 spot. Pretty sure that's the first time this has happened so far. We've pretty much had a David Tennant story at the top, apart from I think episode 1 was a Matt Smith story. But yeah, we've got a Capaldi story here. Oxygen from Series 10 is a brilliant story. It's kind of your average sort of, you know, monster story that you would expect from Doctor Who, sort of based Under Siege. But it's really well done, and I think the whole, I mean, we're kind of tackling capitalism in this episode. You know, you have to pay for oxygen to survive. It is capitalism, but it's done well here. Politics done well in Doctor Who, a political message. And generally the zombie monster things, people are creepy, they're really creepy. The fact that Bill pretty much dies from it but then gets got back again by the Doctor is really awesome. And then the cherry on top of the cake is the Doctor going blind in this one. Such a great one, and I love how it stuck, the blindness stuck with him for another 2 episodes after this. Really awesome, brilliant Series 10 episode. So there we have it. That's my ranking of every episode 5 from Series 1 to 12. How would you guys rank all 12 of these episodes? Please tell me in the comments down below. I'd love to see your opinions. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe. Go into the description, follow me on Twitter. That would be awesome. And I'll see you guys in the next video.